Hi, I'm Wes Jury. I'm the Director of Offering Management and Strategy in the Security Division of IBM. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to walk you through Zero Trust and Privacy, moving security closer to your target. We all know that delivering a trusted and secure experience is now a customer expectation. Clients doing business with us digitally expect that we're going to be securing and keeping their data private. In a recent study, 1 in 5 consumers avoided buying a brand over its data practices in the past 12 months. I know for myself, this has happened. There's been big box hardware stores that have had data breaches at their point of sales machines. And I've chosen not to shop there anymore. Because in the back of my mind, every time I go into that store, every time I put my card into that machine, I think about, is my data going to be compromised? Is somebody going to take that data? Will I have to close that credit card and reopen a new one and go through all the hassle of calling my bank? That goes through my mind. It probably does in your mind as well. I know lots of people who go through and they choose to get off of digital media or social media because they have in it, this expectation of what may be happening to their personal data behind the scenes. So we know this happens and we know it's important. But it's really important for us as we think about changing the way we do business with our clients, because if they can't trust our service, if we can't differentiate ourselves on privacy and the way that we treat their personal data, they'll choose to shop elsewhere. 19% of consumers have chosen or switched to select to a competitor that they feel have better data security policies, that have better data privacy policies. And that's important because it gives us that chance to differentiate ourselves with security and with a model that makes and ensures that we're doing the right thing with our customers' data. But this is juxtaposed with what's happening in our environment right now. We know, in light of the pandemic, in light of other circumstances, just in general, we are on this rapid transformation. We are looking at digitalizing our businesses. We are doing things completely different than we have ever done in the past. No longer do you walk into a store and buy insurance or sit down with an agent to buy insurance. No longer do you even need to go into a grocery store to get your groceries. You can do all of that online through apps, and then you can do curbside pickup. There's no need to interact with humans anymore. It's all about interacting seamlessly through an application experience, a cloud experience. And that changes the way we need to think about how we interact with our customers. It changes the expectations that our customers have. But it also means that expectations are rapidly changing for our consumers. And that means for our companies that we have to give autonomy to our application development, to our line of business, so that they can go out and quickly spin up these new applications in these hybrid multi-cloud environments to reach customers in a new way, or to reach employees in a new way, remote workforce, or business partners who want to interact digitally as well. This means new applications, data shifting off of your premises into cloud repositories. And it brings with it a lot of complexity and security challenges that we all know and frankly, worry us at night. Is my data safe? Am I securing that data? Am I ensuring that data privacy for my end clients? These are things that are just making our lives harder. They're making us degrade that security and trust that we just talked about that's so paramount to the customer experience that our clients are now expecting. And so we're looking to new security frameworks to help us manage this problem. How do we start to bring together all of these tools that we have, both third-party, all these third-party tools? We might have niche tools that are doing very specific things. And here at RSA this week, I'm sure you're going to learn about lots of cool new tools that you want to deploy. But if they don't work together, if they're not sharing context with one another, then they're just yet more complexity that you have to manage in this cloud environment. So Zero Trust gives us this framework. It's a perfect framework because what it does is it says that these security siloed tools need to work together. They need to share context so that you can create better application rules or better security and privacy rules to create better actions to find and hunt for risks and threats in your environment and then remediate those problems. Zero Trust is about protecting your data and the identities and the access patterns that they have around that data and using all of these tools in concert. So let's dig into that concept of context and shared context across security siloed tools. What do I mean by that? Let me break it down and give you a couple of different use cases, because I think this will help sort of show you what I mean by creating better security policy. So if we take maybe the notion of insider threat, it's an easy one for us to think about. Almost every tool that we have has some sort of element of insider threat, whether that's an identity and access management tool or a data security tool or an endpoint management tool. Each and every one of those things is looking at user behavior. It's looking at different elements of user behavior, but it's getting a glimpse into, are there potential risks with this particular user? Individually, each of those pieces of telemetry are important. But when you start to combine that story, when you see that that a user is accessing your network from a new endpoint that you've never seen before, and recently they've had a bunch of failed login attempts from their identity and access management system, or you see from your identity governance system, that they've recently changed their privileges or given themselves more privileges. You combine that together with anomalous data usage or data activity that you're seeing with data security. When you put those pieces of the puzzle together, then it's very clear that you have an insider threat problem, that maybe it's a nefarious user, or maybe it's compromised credentials, or maybe it's somebody doing something different or something they shouldn't be doing. Bringing those pieces together allow you to really proactively hunt risks within your environment. This is about context, sharing context across security siloed tools. Let me give you another one. This one's more about how do you optimize certain patterns. We're spending a lot of time talking about consumer experience. We're spending time talking about data privacy, security, trust, and transparency that your consumers are expecting when they do business with you as a business. And in that, they want a frictionless experience. They want to be secure, but they want a frictionless experience. They don't want to have to jump through hoops every time they navigate to a new piece of your application or a new page in your application. They don't want to have to put in new credentials every time that they log into a different page. They want it to be seamless, frictionless, but secure. So if you wanted to make your rules for data security more efficient, if you wanted to make your identity and access patterns and access management more efficient, you need to share data across those tools. So in this use case, what I'd like to think about is, based on the repository of where you have data, if that data is sensitive information or personal information, and then you see an access pattern of somebody coming in to use that information, you can now start to say, okay, this is a repository with sensitive information. I'm going to look at my access governance rules. I'm going to validate that the person has access to that repository, especially in the light of it being sensitive or personal information. I'm going to validate that what they're doing is normal, that this is an access pattern that I would typically see. It's 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, whatever the time may be, or if it's out of bounds. Is this the first time that they've ever logged into this repository? Is this the first time or the only time they've ever logged in after hours? If it is, and it's a sensitive repository, maybe then I need to force a multi-factor authentication. I need to, send a text alert to their phone. I need to have them scan a QR code. I need to validate that it's really them. This is the notion of zero trust. This is the notion of sharing context to make better informed decisions and make more efficient decisions. If it's not a sensitive repository, if it's just a data repository or a piece of your application that has no sensitive information in it, why go through the friction of forcing a multi-factor authentication? So you get both sides of the world. You get both sides of this coin, right? The ability to enforce security at the same time that you get the ability to provide a frictionless experience. And you can't do that unless you're sharing context. Context also means that you need a platform to share context. You need some way to share context and data across these siloed tools in an efficient way that isn't a point-to-point product integration, because we all know that while we have great ecosystems of products, they don't all work with each other. And you may have chosen a tool different from somebody else. And you want those tools to work together. So you need a platform to share that data. One that is open, an open ecosystem that gives you the ability to share data across any niche tools, any third-party tools, bring it together and to draw these insights and then to take action on them. But it's not just about security. And many of our clients who are looking at this know that. They know that to do zero trust really well, you have to take a business first approach. You have to think about the goals that you're trying to achieve. You have to think about, am I helping my end clients? Am I achieving the digital transformation that my company needs to go through? Am I providing that experience that my customers are expecting? Right? So a business first approach is about those specific things. It's about accomplishing your goals, making sure that the assets that you want to give access to, whether those are applications or resources or data or APIs even, right? That they're available, that they're reliable, that they're secure, that they're giving that experience that customers tend to expect, that have and give trust and transparency, that encourage us to go shop or to use that application, as opposed to looking at that box store that I looked at and saying, maybe this isn't the place for me to shop. And we all know that business first, and a lot of what you're going through right now is shifting to hybrid multi-cloud. And that is both important from the way that you interact with your consumers and your customers. It's also important about how you interact with your own employees. We know people are everywhere today. They're signing in from new devices. They're signing in from new locations and networks. They're doing businesses in places that they've never done business before. And we have to enable them, and we have to provide that experience for them. These are the things that the companies that we're working with zero trust, with making sure that they have the next gen security framework. These are the challenges that they're experiencing and that we're helping them with. So a little bit more about sort of a framework for how you define context and what does it mean and what do you do with it. Obviously, the first step is about defining context. Just understanding your users, your data, your applications, the resources they want to connect to. What sorts of data do you have in those repositories? Is it sensitive? Is it personal information? Is it data that you need to protect and add extra security controls around? Defining that context basically gives you a boundaries for where and how to prioritize the risks and the threats and the proactive analytics that you want to put into your environment so that you can ensure that you are providing a secure, transparent, and safe experience. The next step is around verifying and enforcing. Verify and enforce. So that's really the step where you start to put those security controls in place. Now that you've understand your resources and your applications and the data that you have in your hybrid multi-cloud environment, you want to put the right controls around them. You want to start collecting the right telemetry. You want to look at things like activity monitoring, how that data is being accessed. You want to make sure that you have the right identity access governance rules in place. Have I defined that the right user has the right access to the right data at the right times? You want to look at your network controls. You want to look at your segmentation. All of these pieces of verify and enforce fall into verify and enforce so that you can put those security controls in place. And then we move on to resolving incidents. And inevitably, we're going to have incidents that we have to resolve, whether they're misconfigurations, accidents, nefarious users, whatever it may be. We've got lots of different tools. They're connected, sharing context. We have security policies that are optimized and efficient. We have to layer in analytics because there's a lot of telemetry there. There's a lot of different tools that we're using in this hybrid multi-cloud environment. And we have to think about, how do we find that needle in the haystack? How do we go find those risks and those threats proactively? How are we using machine learning and analytics to go hunt those threats? And then what do we do to resolve them? Do we have orchestrated and automated playbooks that are behind those incident detection? Or if you have a SOC analyst who determines that there's a potential problem, do they have a way to quickly resolve those issues with a click of a button? To kick off playbooks, to open tickets, to make configuration changes, to enforce policy changes, whatever it may be, you need a way to resolve those incidents. And then as part of your closed loop feedback process, you need to analyze and improve your process. Where can I make a better security rule? Where can I contain or combine context from one of my other security tools and make my security posture and my risk posture better? Zero trust is a framework. Zero trust is a journey. It's not a product that you implement. It's not a product that you turn on overnight. It's about continuous improvement. It's about making sure that you're building the best security rules. Start simple, start small. Look at data and access. Data is at the core of a zero trust strategy. Start to build From there, your identity, your network, your endpoint, your user perspectives, bring that context together. Wrapper that with your analytics and machine learning and your ability to then drive orchestrated response and iterate on that as a part of this process for how do you build a successful zero trust model. Once you've done that, once you have a model for zero trust, that's when you're able to actually show your end customers that you are enforcing privacy. And we know privacy is important to all of us. Regulations are changing every day. They're enforcing more privacy rules and controls on us. We have to be ready for audits. We have to know if data gets breached, what do we do on the outset of those data breaches? And as we put these controls in place, as we lower our risk posture, as we build a successful zero trust policy, you're going to be building a data privacy solution that you can ensure your customers that you have trust and transparency. You can ensure your users that you're the client you're the business that clients should trust. It's going to let you differentiate. It's going to let you grow your business. That's why these things are so intrinsically linked, privacy and security in this hybrid multi-cloud environment, and how zero trust really starts to help us deliver on that. So I'm going to leave you with sort of a customer example. And this is a great one because you're going to see them at the IBM keynote this week at the RSA conference. So Mary O'Brien, the general manager of IBM Security, will be on stage with the CISO of Dow Chemical. And they're going to be talking about their journey through zero trust. And it's an important journey. And I think it's one that sort of espouses what I've just been talking about. This CISO is responsible for three major things at his company. He's responsible for security. He's responsible for compliance, data privacy. But most importantly, he's responsible for the rapid digital transformation and achieving business goals. So what he does from his security and compliance role, the policies he puts in place, all have to support that ability to transform his business, to help achieve those business goals, to reach their business partners and their customers in a different and a new and engaging way. One of the things that they're working through, and you'll hear about this in the keynote, and I encourage you to go listen to that, is that what they really wanted to do was provide their customers, provide their business partners, provide their employees a new way to secure the access to data and resources that matter, that were able to give them the ability to do their business, to do their job. And so they changed the way that they looked at their networks. They started to look at their networks as the internet. The internet is their network. People can come from any direction. People can come from any location, in or out of their networks, into their SaaS applications. How do they start to build the right security controls and postures around that notion of a transforming perimeter, of one that no longer exists just within their networks themselves? And so these are the challenges that they'll talk about, but this is how they took this contextual-based model. They applied a set of networking tools. They used a framework from IBM, Zero Trust, and they built on that platform of shared context better security rules and better security policies to lower their risk posture, to improve and deliver on those businesses, and more importantly, to provide that frictionless experience that their end customers, clients, and employees and business partners all expected to have. So it's a great story. You'll learn more about it at the keynote. I encourage you to listen to it. And with that, I will take any questions. If you had questions along through the process, I'll be happy to answer those right in the chat window. Please take your time. And with that, thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.